So we are reading from the book called Panoramic View of Sahaj Marg, written by Brother Shri Raghavendra Rao ji. So we have finished about 5 topics. This is a small book of 60 pages. Today we'll try to cover 2 or 3 chapters. Yeah. So we'll start today. It's the 6th chapter is termed the Basis of Sahaj Marg. So Sahaj Marg is the natural path of realization. Here God is taken as the original superactive center of this entire existence, which is at once the subtlest and the easiest, one with the power behind this restless universe and the very center of that power, the absolute and the ultimate condition of human approach. The origin of creation is a stir in that. The same power which came out in the form of stir is in man in the form of thought. Therefore, the proper orientation of the activity of the thought is the only way to gain or regain that for man. Since normally a man has lost control over the activities of his thought power, the help of one who has regained that is absolutely essential for one desirous of reaching the goal. This help is and can be given through transmission by one competent to do so. By using this thought power in many different directions, man has created his own tiny universe, even as God has created the big universe. This tiny creation of man has trapped his essential being like a cocoon. This network has to be shattered in order to shine forth in his true divine light. In this network, there have formed many knots which are full of or concentrated with power. Therefore, man's thinking is always limited, even within one pattern or another. Even if he thinks of the highest, he involuntarily forms a particular methodology of thinking and is trapped within a boundary. If fortunately, he is able to connect himself with one who has shattered away his own entire network, he can also get out of his own bondage. The connection is established through thought alone. The thought power is the basis of spirituality. The utilization of the power of thought as the central power in man to reach his homeland was discovered in India by a great sage who lived 72 generations before Raja Dasharath of the Surya dynasty. Several methods have since been developed based upon that fundamental principle. The most notable one is one introduced by Lord Shri Krishna, who has revolutionized the system of training in spirituality. All present-day methods of spiritual training owe their origin to Lord Krishna in one way or the other. Great saints who have developed their vision to the level required know this fact very well. He may be fittingly called the father of modern spirituality. An entirely new orientation was given to the method of spiritual training by Mahatma Shri Raghavendra Ji Maharaj of Shahjahanpur, UP, of whom we can justly and proudly claim to be the contemporaries. Such a personality who can revolutionize the method of spiritual training and take mankind to a higher level of being is born once in thousands of years. The method of spiritual training is named as Sahaj Marg. It is based upon the personal experience which came in the superfinest state of superconsciousness of the great personality mentioned above. It is authoritative because all the authoritative methods derive their authority from the ultimate source, which is the very basis and at once the power used in Sahaj Marg. Every genuine method of spiritual training finds its own fulfillment in this system of Sahaj Marg, and at the same time finds itself elevated to a higher level through its association with this method. Only the grosser methods and solid habits sink down when they come into contact with this, just as darkness and density run away before light and lightness. None can question the reasonableness of the methods of Sahaj Marg, for its very basis is the power of thinking, which includes reasoning too. Inferential conclusions get their full satisfaction in Sahaj Marg, which raises the inference of the level of direct intuition, causing no trace of doubt to linger. In fact, Sahaj Marg invites every thinking person to develop his power of thinking through meditation. And no deep thinking is ever possible without sufficient practice of meditation. It is a revolutionary method because it exhorts the sincere aspirant to get rid of and to transcend his mechanical habits of thinking. No dogmas are fixed and no superstitions are entertained in Sahaj Marg. The only supposition which is required is about the existence of the ultimate condition and its attainableness. The only two conditions. The only supposition which is required is about the existence of the ultimate condition and its attainableness. There is no place for unattainable idealistic speculations in Sahaj Marg. The practical experiences of various conditions which an aspirant passes through in his spiritual journey are the direct evidences of the perceptual proofs for the methods of Sahaj Marg. The perception is a direct experience without the possibility of mistake, which is often the case with the senses and sense objects. The necessary things required for the correct perceptions are the healthy sense organs, healthy mind, clear light, and the object of perception which normally appears as separate from the perceiver. But with the purification of the heart, as is taught in Sahaj Marg, the spiritual condition of the aspirant, which is one with the perceiver, is directly and clearly perceived due to the light of the ultimate and pure consciousness. Hence, there is no possibility of darkness, distortion, or doubt. I'll take a pause here. Anybody wants to comment or anybody wants to?
Madhav, what the earlier paragraph, last sentence?
I'll read it again. This is important.
Earlier paragraph, last sentence, not this. Yeah.
Go up, please.
A bit less. As darkness and density run away. Next one. Yeah. The one before.
I'll just the field. The practical experiences of various conditions which an Abhyasi passes through in his spiritual journey are the direct evidences of the perceptual proofs for the methods of Sahaj Marg. The perception is a direct experience without the possibility of mistake, which is often the case with the senses and the sense objects. Can anybody tell me what is perception, what is inference, and what is conceptualization? Because that's important. Dharmesh, can you tell me what is perception and what is inference and what is cognition and what is conception?
So perception generally we associate with a sense organ, right? If we see a fire, right, we understand that that's a fire.
That is cognition also, no?
So if we are touching a hot surface, we feel hot.
You're cognizing a heat, sensation of heat. So that doesn't become a perception, no?
Okay. Inference is something where
anybody can answer, because unless you have a clear idea about all these basics which you use as a language, you will not make much headway.
Interpretation on. Hello.
Huh?
Interpretation on the basis of preconceived notions or knowledge. It is perception.
No, you're brought in again, you're making it complicated. Your preconceived notion you're using, it should be a simple definition.
So, could perception be based on the experience and cognition based on knowledge?
No, no, it's not that.
Okay.
You see, what happens, like, for example, Dharmesh has said, you touch a hot cup of tea. So when this heat touches this thing, that is a cognition, that is a sensation. Okay. And you can touch a direct fire, suppose you're lighting a agarbatti and then the fire touches you. That's also heat sensation. But the heat when you catch the hot tea cup, that is also heat sensation. But the perception is, you have a perception that heat is caused by hot tea. One perception is heat is caused by the direct fire. So perception differentiates between things actually. That is called perception actually. Perception causes the differences. Suppose male and female, dog, cat, dogs, various kinds of terrier will be there, Alsatian will be there. So your perception will differentiate between two objects actually. So perception is a mind creates the perceptual capacity. After taking the sensation will come, and the sensation is very rapidly brain processes and creates a perception in. So perception is a creation by the mind actually.
Anyway, the perception would mean it's associating with the past images or the past.
The perception
notion.
only helps you to differentiate things.
Yeah.
Perception helps you to differentiate things. That's the thing. Yeah.
Actually, perception would just be observation, right?
No,
And
no,
that
no, that's not wrong. Perception is
See, what helps you distinguish, that would be cognition. And
cognition.
inference is
Cognition is
what
bare
you
cognition.
compute.
Cognition is converted into perception by the brain. Cognition is converted into perception by your brain processes actually.
Perception is the first thing that happens, right? Like
No. Sensation happens first. First sensation happens. And
yeah,
then
so
the brain.
sensation is a form of perception, right?
No. Perception happens laterally. It happens so fast you're thinking it is there. But then in yoga, what is happening in when we are saying that it is savitarka, nirvitarka samadhi, you're taking away the perceptual this thing actually. Perception, each person's perception will be different actually. Like suppose you drink a cup of tea, 10 people, if they drink, 10 people have different perception. They say this is better, this is good, this is very hot, this is fragrance is different. Each person will have a different perception of the same quality of tea. This tea is better than Assam tea or than Nilgiri tea or whatever. Each person, 10 people, if they're drinking the same neutral substance, whatever is there, that doesn't change. That quality of the tea is what it is. But then 10 people, if they taste that, 10 people's perceptions will be different. Perception is not the
that is
reality.
Their inferences are different, I would say.
No. You're getting it wrong. Perception is your mind creates based upon your coloring actually, or your coloring. When you use the word, Babuji uses the word called coloring actually. Coloring is done. Coloring changes your perception actually. So right cognition is anyway.
That's why he says the necessary things required for the correct perception are the healthy sense organs, healthy mind, clear light, and the object of the perception which normally appears as separate from the perceiver. But with the purification of heart, as is taught in Sahaj Marg, the spiritual condition of the aspirant, which is the one with the perceiver, is directly and clearly perceived due to the light of the ultimate and pure consciousness. Once that happens, all will see the same perception, will have the
Yeah,
same.
that's right. So Babuji says if you have to develop spiritually, you have to develop right cognition, right morals, and right faith. Right cognition happens when this your coloring goes away. Suppose your heart is cleaned of all the samskaras. All samskaras are memories only which color your perception actually. If everything is cleaned off with cleaning process, then whatever perception is having, you'll all now 14 people are sitting, all of us will have the same perception of a reality. So if you meditate on divine light, the same kind of tranquility will happen in all of us the same way. So judgment also will be the same in all of us. So we'll just directly perceive the truth as it is in itself. There'll be no coloring of our perceptions actually. So that happens only when you do meditation properly, when your heart is cleaned, all your samskaras are removed, then your perceptions starts moving towards right cognition. Right cognition is actually when everything is God only is appearing in various multifarious forms. So that cognition only is called right cognition when you see God everywhere, which is the truth actually. But because of delusion, because of avidya, we are perceiving things are different actually from this thing. Paramarthika sarta, conversation, this thing. Vyavaharika satta and Paramarthika satta. Vyavaharika, when you're dealing with the world, your perception is different, but yogi has got double perception. From one point of view, he sees God everywhere, but for the sake of drama in the thing, he will talk as if the language which common man perceives, but he is beyond all that actually. Anyway, so I'll read it again. This will get it clear. The practical experience of various conditions which an aspirant passes through in a spiritual journey are the direct evidences of the perceptual proofs for the methods of Sahaj Marg. The perception is a direct experience. It's an intuition. Now he is talking of when you're meditating on divine light after sufficient cleaning and all that, when your mind is thought flow is flowing naturally without any obstructions on the object of meditation, a perception appears in you. You can call that as an intuition also. Is a direct experience without the possibility of mistake, which is often the case with senses and the sense objects. The necessary things required for the correct perceptions are the healthy sense organs, healthy mind, clear light, and the object of perception which normally appears as separate from the perceiver. But with the purification of the heart, as is taught in Sahaj Marg, the spiritual condition of the aspirant, which is one with the perceiver, is directly and clearly perceived due to the light of the ultimate and pure consciousness. That means, you see, now let me elaborate further. You see, now I'm seeing all of you on the screen, and I'm aware that I'm seeing you. That awareness is the intellect in me, the buddhi inside me. The buddhi is actually is a matter vesture actually. But in that buddhi, God's awareness or the God's consciousness is reflected. So without that God consciousness, I cannot even have cognition, or awareness is also not possible. So because of cleaning techniques, what happens? The buddhi, it becomes very pure. I mean, its discrimination sense becomes very acute actually. And once it becomes this thing, there's hardly any difference between the purity of divine human being and the normal human being who is purified by his spiritual practices. Then whatever intuition perceptions happen, or I mean, Shruti only comes actually. Shruti, whatever in nature's vibrations, you'll be catching it straight away. Or then what in second commandment he talks, nature's commands start coming to you. I mean, you will be in harmony with God, and there'll be no difference between your buddhi and God's buddhi. Whatever happening in God will starts happening in your mind. So normally what happens in majority of the people, the buddhi or the intellect is impure, and manasu, general people, is filled with doubt and uncertainty and all that. Buddhi is discrimination, the judgment, willpower is all weak. So as you meditate, your willpower becomes stronger, your discernment about what is right and what is wrong becomes much clearer. And then you start sensing God everywhere. You start seeing right cognition comes when your buddhi is clean. Buddhi, all these cleaning practices only help you to clear your mind only, that's all. So then whatever you perceive is right. But with the purification of the heart, as is taught in Sahaj Marg, the spiritual condition of the aspirant, which is one with the perceiver, is directly and clearly perceived due to the light of the ultimate and pure consciousness. Hence, there is no possibility of darkness, distortion, or doubt. Doubt is a quality of the mind. That means manasu. Manasu keeps on doubting. So that is gone. It doubts about its own ability to realize God also. Anyway, next I'll go. Keshav, it's okay, Gada? You wanted...
No, that's fine. See, perception can be always wrong if you haven't purified yourself.
No, that's
So
right.
each one has his own. Therefore, once you are purified completely, and the perception will be correct. That's what Babuji is saying. And
That's the thing, Keshav. That's what we are doing. Bodhanti Parasparam.
yeah.
Suppose diary saying is there, today's diary saying, if people have contemplated on the diary saying and written their notes in their diary, if you collect about 100 people's diaries and then study this thing, each person's perception about what Babuji is saying will be different angle to it. So that's the perception.
That depends on the level of consciousness.
Coloring which they have got. The more the purer it becomes, the purer people's thinking will appear same actually. That's what Babuji says. If person is in the Brahmanda, universal consciousness, whatever one person says in the universal consciousness, all other people will be agreeing with that. There will be harmony in that because they will be seeing the truth. What the other person sees the truth, same truth the other person also will be seeing. That's why the differences of opinion, even in our meetings and all that, differences are because of the individual ego consciousness. Once you transcend into divine consciousness, what Keshav thinks, Dharmesh thinks will be the same thing. So there will be no differences of opinion will not be there. Difference of opinion will be there because of the individual consciousness, because your perception will be there. Suppose you say that, no, it's very important to do Basant Panchami. Then somebody will say, no, we should do only one function throughout a year. So several people will have several this thing. Suppose if all people have moved into universal consciousness, if one person feels that it, then everybody will think the same way. It's a common experience. We are going through all these experiences, no? Anyway, we'll go ahead now.
There is another one, next para maybe, I can't remember. Where is that? I've completely forgotten.
We'll read it. If any doubts.
Earlier one?
No, 1 second. Where there is, see, no, the solid practices and all dissolve. Where is that one?
That's true, no? Your case and my case, we never felt like going to Tirupati after joining the mission because we were satisfied. I mean, a fellow, he has eaten his food, you ask him to eat again, he will never eat. So you're satisfied. You have no inclination to go and visit religious places at all. That has simply dropped away on its own. Anyway, that's our experience also, yes.
This only grosser methods and solid sink down
when they come into contact with this, just as darkness and density run away before light. And that's true. This has happened in several people. People who followed Babuji's system, their habits immediately changed. Yeah. None can...
so we are here.
In the field of activity of thought is the region of the heart. Everything is really perceived in this region. It is possible to clean and purify this field even as it is possible to allow the weeds to grow there. The weeds are nothing but the wild oats sown there by thought. They are the illegitimate offsprings of the wayward indulgences of the senses in their objects. When a powerful seed of divinity is sown there through the transmission of the divine impulse, it starts to grow into an effulgent tree. The weeds then either wither away or get divinized and help in the growth of the divinity itself within. Therefore, the method of training in Sahaj Marg is centrifugal. That is, the work starts right from the core of one's being, and the result goes on expanding outwards to encompass his entire existence. This transmission is done by the highly developed and at once divinized willpower of the preceptor in Sahaj Marg. The transmission is a willful action by the preceptor who has got full command over the technique. It is not a mere helpless prayer of the good soul, which also often gives good results. The transmission as used in Sahaj Marg is an unfailing power which is under the command of the preceptor. The preceptor purifies the heart of the aspirant of all the complexities, solidities, darkness, and other obstructions, and sows the seed of the divine effulgence there. The Abhyasi who receives this transmission starts to feel its auspicious results very soon. Without labor on his part, the Abhyasi finds himself progressing towards subtler and subtler conditions of his being. The transmission of the ultimate principles leaves no room for the temptations for Mayavik or fine materialistic charms and the consequent bondages. Nothing short of absolute liberation is the primary objective kept in view. The idea underlying is that man is no man in the real sense unless he is liberated from the inner bondages of animalism. This is a point we can talk in our training programs. Real man means he is free from the you can say real man is one in whom Vairagya is established. That means he is no more a slave of the waves of the mind. Like suppose a thought comes to do some activity, mind creates a thought to indulge in some sensory pleasure. Sensory pleasure includes everything, you know. So then you don't have to succumb to it. You can have your supremacy over that thought. You don't have to follow it. So in that way, you have freedom. You're no more a bondage to your desires. So if you're not a slave to your desires, you can call yourself as a real man. Actually. The idea underlying is that man is no man in the real sense unless he is liberated from the inner bondages of animalism. The common view that liberation is a hard and difficult attainment requiring innumerable lives of pious and holy practices, and that too in an embodied condition only, does not find favor in the method of Sahaj Marg. Here it is radically differing from even Bhagavad Gita. Even Lord Krishna says, over several lives you will get liberation. Bahunam Janmanam. So Babuji's method of Sahaj Marg is departing from traditional thinking also. That liberation is the first necessity and the birthright of every human being, if not of every being, and that it can be had only for the asking is the proclamation and the dynamic basis of Sahaj Marg. The charms of consciousness and bliss are felt as heavy as compared to the superfine condition of the Abhyasi, which he develops due to the transmission of the ultimate condition. Light loses its charm for one who is after the very source of that light. Light is after all a grosser quality. There are regions beyond the rings of splendor, which were up till now considered to be beyond human reach. But thanks to the discovery of Sahaj Marg and the method of transmission, it is now possible for man not only to enter the central region of splendor, but also to cross all the rings of splendor and to swim in the ocean of the infinite center. The foundation of spiritual training under the system of Sahaj Marg rests on the establishment of an intimate relationship between the divine nature and man. Once that intimacy is created, the Abhyasi begins to progress by leaps and bounds. The secrecy, mysticism, and peculiar expectations attached with spirituality could not establish the natural and intimate connection between man and the divine nature. The gurus were compelled to lead double lives, in fact, multiple lives, to satisfy their disciples, their societies, as well as their own natures. No wonder, even if the great sage of yore was forced to caution his students not to imitate his actions, but to follow his precepts only. Sahaj Marg, true to its name, allows no reservations. Everything is open. There's nothing to hide. The master has got no privacy at all. The Abhyasi feels no distance between himself and the master. In fact, the Abhyasi finds the master to be his own self, the essential being. This is because of the master's transmission, which establishes such intimate relationship. To transcend religion is to enter the spiritual field. Therefore, Sahaj Marg considers the religious ritualism as merely the cultural aspect of any society. When the ritualism becomes the cause of inner bondages and solidity, Sahaj Marg pulls it up. The end of religion is the beginning of spirituality, says the founder of Sahaj Marg. Going to temples and other places of worship is not a taboo in Sahaj Marg. Nevertheless, accumulation of grossness and complexities by worshipping the idols of many gods and goddesses or by forming solid habits of mind is considered as suicidal for spiritual progress. God should not be left back in the temple alone, but he must be sought in one's own heart, is the teaching of Sahaj Marg. The prayer, which is the essential part of any religion, is a state of mind to be developed by every aspirant of spiritual progress. But the prayer should not be degenerated to become flattery of gods. Prayer should be offered to God alone and only for one's spiritual upliftment. To pray for the silly things of the world is not only childish, but ridiculous also. Spiritually, such prayers for the worldly benefits create inner grossness in man, and socially they make men idle, lazy, superstitious, and childish. The method of Sahaj Marg is essentially the method of Raja Yoga, but with certain modifications to suit the needs of every man. It is fully appreciative of the Vedantic methods of the four sadhanas or sadhana chatushtaya, but instead of recommending the laborious, wasteful, and time-consuming practices of Viveka and Vairagya, it considers and proves by practice that Viveka and Vairagya are the inner conditions to be obtained as a result of the right practice of meditation. By our intense craving for and strong attachment with the highest principle, the higher and subtler conditions of mind are automatically developed. It is more practical than speculative. The assumption of the existence of the ultimate condition and the possibility to attain that by the help of that alone, by considering every desire as an obstruction or a bar in our march towards that, is the inseparable principle of Sahaj Marg. I will read it again. This is important. The assumption of the existence of the ultimate condition and the possibility to attain that by the help of that alone, by considering every desire as an obstruction or a bar in our march towards that, is the inseparable principle of Sahaj Marg. 10 commandments of Sahaj Marg are given for our establishing a dynamic relationship with the divinity and for our living in that. Once that connection is established, the major part of our work is over. About 100 years ago, there was born a great soul in Fatehgarh, UP, in a Kayastha family. Now he is remembered as Samarth Guru Mahatma Ramchandraji Maharaj and as Lalaji by his intimate associates. Even at a very young age, he was dragged towards the path of spirituality and attained perfection within a very short period of 7 months. After serving humanity, he left the mortal body at the age of 56. 12 years afterwards, his representative, Mahatma Shri Ramchandraji, known as Babuji to his intimate associates of Shahjahanpur, founded Shri Ramchandra Mission after the name of the great master to serve humanity in an organized way in 1945. The name Sahaj Marg descended in the mind of Babuji to indicate the method. Lalaji and saints prior to him knew it as the Sant Mat, but due to the special discoveries and inventions by Babuji in the field of spirituality, the new name Sahaj Marg had to be introduced. The new discoveries have revolutionized the system of spiritual training. An able preceptor of Sri Ramchandra Mission has fittingly called it yoga without tears, even though one has to shed tears by bucketfuls. The idea is that a lot of hard labor and tortuous journey is saved due to the helping transmission of the master. In short, the basis of Sahaj Marg is the right use of the power of thought under the expert guidance of a master of the highest caliber for the realization of the ultimate condition of the human existence. I think this ends the chapter. We'll go to the next chapter. We'll give a break for some time.
Questions?
Keshav Ananta, he is reiterating the fundamentals. We have read all these things when we joined in 75, but it's worth repeating because as you are meditating, your mind becomes purer, so we'll understand better about, because this man, Babuji took him to the highest levels quite early in his life. Within 2 years, I think he took him to the highest spiritual planes actually. Any questions about this? It's all, of course, it's all covered in basic works of Ramchandra. It's a repetition. It's similar thing like the basic works. Yeah, we'll go to the next one. The Goal of Sahaj Marg. It has been mentioned in the previous pages that there is an ultimate condition of human existence, which is the subtlest, the noblest, and the perfect. The struggle of man is to regain that original condition unconsciously. But due to the wayward pleasure-seeking tendencies of mind, man runs after the gratification of his senses and goes on creating solidity and complexities within himself. Sahaj Marg aims at regulating the mind to restore perfect balance. Such a perfectly balanced condition is termed as Sahaja Samadhi. During his journey towards the center or his origin, man passes through various conditions and stages. First of all, he realizes the limitations of his present gross and solid state of living and thinks of a better state which is free from bondages. When he makes up his mind and forms a strong will to enter the kingdom of God, he enters the first or the outermost circle of spirituality. If he proceeds on the right path, he can overcome the obstructions and get salvation or freedom from earthly bondages after a hard and long struggle for many years, which may continue even beyond his present span of life. Such a state of salvation, no doubt a very commendable attainment, lies between the second and third circle under the system of Sahaj Marg. This condition is very easily had by the help of a worthy guide through transmission. The Mayavic rarefied material conditions have been denoted by 5 circles by the founder of Sahaj Marg. That is the sphere from which great avatars descend to earth to effect necessary changes according to the needs of the nature. Shri Rama and Lord Krishna are the best examples of such great personalities who had the powers of nature at their command and who effected great changes in their lifetime. The point of human ascent lies far beyond these 5 circles. 5 circles means you must all know that it's beyond the 10th knot. I mean, once you cross the 10th knot, you're beyond the effects of Maya. I mean, you start perceiving reality as it is in itself. But after transcending the influence of Maya, still Babuji talks about the 11 circles of ego and then the seven rings of splendor. The point of human ascent lies far beyond these 5 circles. Man has to pass through a number of stages of egoism to reach the 0 point or the center. The master has indicated the stages of egoism by 11 rings, 11 circles in reality at dawn, and has beautifully elucidated egoism in efficacy of Raj Yoga in the light of Sahaj Marg. Egoism is a tendency of mind to stagnate at some phase or other. Pride and vanity are its grosser and cruder forms. Even in worships, egoism plays an important role, and many a time it is self-defeating. In fact, people generally substitute egoism for divinity in their worships. Even if they worship God, they take him to be just like themselves. Without the help of a perfect master through transmission, it is impossible to cross the different stages of egoism. Some world-renowned saints have stumbled in confusing egoism with God. I am truth, aham brahmasmi, and various other similar statements have confused the minds of even great philosophers and saints. Up till the advent of Sahaj Marg, the final limit of human approach was considered to be the realization of the finest state of egoism. It appeared as if a full stop has been put for human approach after the pure and noble egoism. Saint Kabir is said to have reached the 15th circle. After that state was reached, a man has to expand horizontally only. Some saints peeped further and cautioned their disciples about the danger of the shattering away of the mortal fame if anybody attempted to jump higher than that stage. The goal of Sahaj Marg is far beyond all the stages of egoism. The great sage has discovered or rediscovered the central region, consisting of the center and all the 7 rings of splendor around it. It has now been made possible to cross even those 7 rings of splendor and to swim in the infinite ocean of the center, even while living in this mortal body. All these high attainments can be had within one's own lifetime through the practice of Raja Yoga, modified according to the system of Sahaj Marg. Generally, people do not take the problem of life as seriously as it ought to be taken. At the most, they consider themselves successful in life if they can get their desires fulfilled or all their material needs satisfied. At the same time, they experience frustrations, sufferings, miseries, etc., and find their desires to be never-ending. In short, they've got a very narrow or limited view of life. They're totally unaware of the real causes working behind all their actions. Even if some persons get a glimpse of the causes, they do not attempt to realize the root cause of their existence. The reason is that they have developed internal solidity and grossness to such an extent that they are incapable to go to the finer and subtler levels of their being. It's absolutely essential to get rid of all these complexities, solidity and darkness. Sahaj Marg aims at helping to remove them through the proper utilization of the power of thought. Its goal is to attain the absolute and ultimate condition by effecting complete purification of the heart and absolute simplicity of being as quickly as possible. Can go up, please? Yeah. I think we'll stop now. Next time we'll read about the theory and practice. I think we covered significantly. So,
Any questions?
Namaste, sir.
uh,
I think in one of the paragraphs, I think he's also pointing out when he's talking about this rings of ego and all, he's saying vanity and pride are grosser forms of ego, and which he means to say that there are even very subtler levels of ego.
that does not come under the 11 rings of ego. That is a very gross form of, vanity and pride. Many people who take to spirituality, especially if the system under Babuji, if you're going, because unless they develop a yielding attitude and a dependency attitude, their heart will become closed. The divine influence will not be able to enter into their heart. So most of the people who are disciples of Babuji, they do not have that gross vanity or this thing. But general people who are not spiritual in nature, they have this pride and vanity is a common failing, no?
Right.
Even you talk to anybody, you try to enter into a political discussion with anybody in this world, even your own servant or even a beggar on the street, you go and then strike up a conversation, and if you enter into something about politics or religion or, then he will vehemently argue. He will, he will never agree with your views at all. He thinks he knows more than, his knowledge is better than your knowledge or whatever. Every person believes that he's got, he's superior to you in any argument actually. And that is vanity and pride actually.
Okay.
It's a common thing, no? Vanity.
And he says egoism is a tendency of mind to stagnate at some phase or other.
That's his view. Actually, egoism is nothing but the reflected God in your buddhi and ahankara. The reflected thing is thinking that it is independent. That is avidya. Avidya is the basic ignorance, whereby you see, I am talking now. I am talking because of my buddhi and manasu and body. I am talking, but the talking is happening. My awareness is reflected in my mind. So that is the real force which is talking. But I don't recognize that force, and I think I'm independently capable of talking, which is not the truth. The truth is, I mean, it's just like if the power is running, the light is burning, power is running, the fan is moving. Now, the fan believes that it is independently rotating on its own. That is ego.
Right.
Actual force is the electricity which is running and causing the fan to rotate. The actual thing I am able to talk to is because of the divine energy which is running my whole machinery and running my brain and heart, and I am able to speak. So instead of recognizing that reality, I believe that I am myself, and if somebody praises, I feel happy. If somebody criticizes, I feel depressed. That means I feel that I am the doer. The feeling that you are the doer is a delusion. It's not the truth. So that is egoism.
Okay.
So it doesn't intellectually it is understood, but then for the feeling to dissolve, that means for that knot of egoism to dissolve, requires very hard work. If you read Babuji's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, there he says that feeling of doership goes, but after a lot of hard work, you can वो गीता का open करो धर्मेश.
No,
It's not that easy. People think that they have got rid of their ego. It's not that easy at all. Because Babuji himself is telling you. You have to put in a lot of hard work to get rid of that feeling, actually.
Yeah.
So if you are constantly conscious of the master, then because of the inflow of the divine waves into your mind, gradually, without your knowledge, that goes away.
okay.
You directly try to surrender, it will not work.
Okay.
If you try to surrender, it will not go. It goes spontaneously if you're practicing the method correctly.
Right.
So ego is not such an easy thing, actually.
This one, right?
Yeah. In the English में है ना? नहीं, the Babuji का है ना पूरा?
हाँ, yes, sir.
You go ahead. You इसमें, I mean, go ahead. I mean, toward the stage when he says the doership feeling goes away, and then he makes this comment. I want Abhyasis to realize that it involves a lot of hard work, actually. Go ahead. As for the teachings of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we are ever being told by teachers and preachers of high rank and repute that man should never consider himself to be the actual doer of things. At the same time, it's quite evident that mere reading or hearing of it is of no avail unless we take up means to achieve it practically. But we are always in the dark about those means which are necessary for the purpose. Nowhere can the slightest hint to that effect be traced out in all their discourses. The result is that the hearers are wrongly led to the conclusion that only the frequent repetition of the words "I am not the doer" is all and enough for them. It is, in fact, an inner state of mind in which the physical actions of the Abhyasi do not create impressions upon his heart. Consequently, a feeler of being a doer does not arise in him. Next, you go ahead. When impressions are not caused, the samskaras are not formed, and consequently, chances of bhoga do not arise. The formation of samskaras is thus stopped. This is quite essential for those on the spiritual path. This was, in fact, the actual condition which was transmitted to Arjuna, and by the effect of which he at once rose up to that level of higher consciousness. Next, go ahead. The oral expression given at the time constituted only 7 shlokas to offer brief hints to illustrate the condition acquired by Arjuna through transmission. You go ahead again. When one has practically attained that state, he begins to feel the same all through. This is, in fact, the actual state of realization. Go ahead, yeah. Great stress is laid in Bhagavad Gita upon Nishkama Karma or desire. One may go on saying like that forever till it may never crop up within him unless he adopts the means and practices for its achievement. Go ahead. Yeah. This is in fact a kind of layavastha, state of merging, without which the vision of Virat as displayed could never be possible, though proper capacity and advanced insight on the part of Abhyasi are also essential for the purpose. Proper capacity, go ahead. Reason was that layavastha, which was being transmitted into him, related only to the condition of Virat days, which, while the scene witnessed by him was the display of the full force of Brahmanda Mandal, which was far beyond the region of Virat. It was in fact the sphere wherefrom everything comes down to material plane. The entire plan of Mahabharata was there in the astral form. It was this vision that Lord Krishna brought to Arjuna's view after pulling him up to that level. Some people may not, however, feel induced to believe it as it is, and they might have their own reason. But I may assure them that though normally wanting practical, it is quite possible and practicable even today, provided there be a personality of such caliber and provided the sadhaka to be capable of being lifted up to that level. Next, you go ahead. Merely saying or hearing is of no avail in this. It is only to be practiced, and for it a broader heart is required. It is not so easily attainable. I mean, this feeling of doership, to get rid of the feeling of doership is not so easily attainable in a brief span of time. Persistent labor with proper means is essential for it. It is likely that people may not pay heed to what I say herein, but soon the reality which has, due to the effect of time, got covered shall be unmasked, and the people. So he says persistent labor with proper means is essential. This point I wanted to tell because people think that the guru may be great and the system. It is a simple system only. What he's telling is, he's saying, try to think about the presence of God in your heart and do it in a simple and natural way. But then you should also practice A and B, whereby you are free from all desires and free from all ill will also. Unless you are attained a state of freedom from desires and freedom from ill will by practicing point A, feeling that all are brothers and sisters, including all enemies or political enemies or cruel people who have been there, you cannot have any ill will against anybody. Then your thoughts can flow easily towards the divine light in the heart. It can flow naturally. Then that is meditation. Meditation is when your mind naturally flows towards God. Initially, effort is required. But when you do the practices like A and B and then do cleaning regularly, then the obstructions are removed, and then the mind, then you'll be able to walk on the path very easily. In that sense, it is easy. But then to get rid of these desires and develop viveka and vairagya, persistent labor is required to keep the goal in your mind constantly alive. Persistent labor is required.
Right.
So that is important. Anyway, we'll stop here. Can it be called to side by Sakshi? Sakshi Baba, Mahajan, Sakshi Baba is always there. But the Sakshi Baba is Sakshi can be the ego, and behind the ego is the real Sakshi. So in majority of the people, the Sakshi is the ego only. Only by proper practice, the ego becomes the real Sakshi. Ego is gone, and only real Sakshi starts operating in your mind-body complex, actually. In majority of the people, the Sakshi is the ego only. In common people, only people who are meditating correctly, the ego goes away and only the God operates through you. You become an instrument, and then you are in harmony with the divinity itself. So Sakshi in majority of the people is like a glass which is covered with lot of mud and all that. What can he? So you can't. The reflection which you get from your heart is totally not the reality. It's your own imaginary creation. When the heart becomes clear from all samskaras and then you stop forming samskaras, then the real Sakshi shines through your intellect actually. श्रीकांत, you are understood ना? Point समझ में आया? महाजन,
Yes, sir. Yes.
तो मेहनत करना पड़ेगा इसके लिए. I mean, otherwise, the ego is the sakshi in majority of the people.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll meet next time then.